Okay, so I'm going to talk about, let me get this video out of the way. Okay, I'm going to talk about GitHub Actions and machine learning workflows. There you go. Okay, so a little bit about me. I won't repeat too much, but I'm currently a machine learning engineer at GitHub. Been there for about 2 years. Before this, I was at Airbnb on the machine learning team. And then before that, I was at DataRobot building machine learning tools. It's a software as a service company. Before that, I was doing consulting. Some interesting projects that I've done recently. So as Lucas mentioned, one is called Code SearchNet, which is, it's a project that we ended up open sourcing. And what we're trying to do is learn representations of code using deep learning. And one of the downstream tasks that we want to accomplish with that is semantic search of code. And actually, that's a really cool. We partnered with Weights and Biases, so they have a really cool product called Benchmarks. I'll actually show that real fast. There we go. So there's a really cool thing, the benchmarks. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. And there's a bunch of different benchmarks. Like if you go to the benchmarks, okay, we don't have to look at all the benchmarks, but so Weights and Biases can host sort of as benchmark for you, and it's sort of you get kind of a leaderboard just like Kaggle. But then also you get to see all of the runs and the details of the runs in a very transparent way, and with all the model artifacts and all the files. So it's actually really cool. So like the Code SearchNet project, there's a GitHub repo associated with it, but it's really interesting in two respects. So we open sourced a large corpus of code, and it's a parallel corpus of code in natural language. So it's 2 million pairs of functions and methods with their associated doc strings or comments. And the idea is, can we learn a representation of code that aligns with natural language so that we can use that, in things like search. I won't go into too much detail, but definitely check it out. It's a really cool project that we collaborated with Weights and Biases. And then actually another project I worked on recently that doesn't have much to do with machine learning or deep learning, but is still relevant to this conversation is Fast Pages. So Fast Pages is an open source project that I'll show you a little bit later that allows you to blog with Jupyter Notebooks, and it's automated completely with GitHub Actions. And so yeah, those are some things. Okay, so I'm gonna jump right into it. So GitHub Actions. So the reason I want to talk about this is I think a lot of times, when we're doing machine learning projects, it involves a lot of software engineering, like DevOps stuff, even, or other like adjacent stuff. And I think it's really interesting to hear kind of what are some tools that can help. So like let me first talk about what GitHub Actions is. So on the surface, GitHub Actions look like another CI/CD tool. So you may have seen these on GitHub if you haven't used them. Probably many people have. So things like Travis, Circle CI, Jenkins, whatever it might be. And like, you've seen probably these like checks. Like when you do unit tests or integration tests, you have some tests on your code, and they help you maintain quality of your software. So GitHub Actions on the surface looks like it can be a replacement for that. And actually, GitHub Actions is really interesting because it has some additional features which are important, and that kind of make it easier for data scientists as well to add additional tools to like their workflow. So the main feature that GitHub Actions has is allow you to trigger events, trigger on any GitHub event, and then inspect the metadata of those events. So that's one of the big features. So like, what is a GitHub event? So before GitHub Actions, you could subscribe to webhooks on GitHub. So There's all kinds of events on GitHub. You can see like this really long list. I highlighted in red some of the ones that may be interesting. But things like basically anything you do on GitHub can trigger an event. So commenting on an issue, or making a pull request, or starring a repo, 4K repo, whatever it might be, will trigger an event. And that event will emit a payload that you can subscribe to. So this is an example of a payload when you edit an issue. So basically like JSON, and it has a bunch of metadata about what happened on GitHub. So this is just like background. And so GitHub Actions allows you to read this metadata and like respond to it. So if someone makes a comment on an issue of a certain kind, for example, you can like automatically respond to that in a very easy way. You might be wondering like how does this relate to machine learning at all? I'm getting to it, I promise. Okay, so I'm gonna create a GitHub action really quickly to like give you a taste of what it is. Hopefully this doesn't go wrong. I haven't really ever done live coding before, so we'll just pray that nothing happens. Okay, so I'm just gonna create a new directory just so you know that I'm not cheating. I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna make this a Git repository, and I'm gonna make this into a GitHub repo. And on GitHub, so you'll see it here. So this is the repo I have. And so to create a GitHub action, so what I wanna do with this demo is I wanna create an action that responds to you if you open an issue. And again, I promise this is all related like somehow to machine learning. Just bear with me. I just want to like kind of clue you into what actions is. So so the way you make a GitHub action is you have a GitHub folder, and inside the .github folder you have a workflows folder like that. And so I'm gonna open. Oh yeah, and then so like let's call this. You have to have a YAML file. So there's a YAML file in the .github workflows folder that, so we'll call it demo.yaml. Okay, and I'll just open this file, my IDE. So demo.yaml. And so, okay, so with all YAML files, they can be kind of scary. What I like to do is I like to start with like the YAML file that's already out there somewhere and just use it as a template. Just because, you know, it's not like programming. It's basically use a template. So I have this, so basically I have this thing in my, that looked like it was hand wavy, but I kind of copy and paste this thing and start from there. You can use any like GitHub action you want. I highly recommend just starting with something. And so I'll tell you like what's going on here. So like you name your workflow something, and then this on thing is where you like specify the event. In this case, like I want to like do something on an issue comment. So if I go here and I say, okay, actions docs, and I want to, let's say, I want to look at events that can trigger workflows. I'm kind of going through this fast, but you know, don't worry. I just want to give you a taste for what it looks like. So there's this issues event, and so like I want it to trigger this when the issue is opened. So I'm kind of going to just copy this thing here. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to like just use that. Now the thing with YAML is you have to, the indentation is very finicky. It's very specific, so you have to be consistent. So I'm going to say this is issue open event. And so let me make my ID a little bit wider here. Okay. And so this is all just like boilerplate stuff. I don't really need that. This is the name. So this jobs thing is sort of, you don't really, it's not really relevant in this example. This is just any name you want. You name your job. This is the runtime the operating system in which the arbitrary code is going to run in. And so, and all of this is just boilerplate. I just have it here just to kind of help me, but it doesn't really matter.
Could
Yeah.
you make the font bigger?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Oops. Can you? Okay. Hopefully that's bigger.
Could you make it a little bigger?
Yeah, sure. Let me.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Okay. So this is the YAML file. I'll try to go through this quickly. So I'm just gonna like delete some stuff here because again, I'm starting with a template. And what I want to do is, in this case, actually, let's leave one thing here. I'm gonna leave. So there's a lot of syntax that is like unique to GitHub Actions, and it takes some time to learn it. Like these docs are very like detailed. There's a lot of things you can do, and things like that. One thing that is really interesting is, so I mentioned like every time a GitHub action is triggered, this payload is emitted, and you can, so for example, there is a variable called GitHub event, and that has the full payload, which is that JSON thing. And so this basically, so this step, I'm running a bash command, and I'm, this variable payload, and I'm taking this like special variable that's part of GitHub Actions, and I'm going to show it just for demonstration purposes. And then there's this other thing here. So this is one of the key features of Actions, is you can host actions for other people to use. So I'm gonna, let's see, there it is. So this thing, so I don't know any JavaScript, but that's okay. Like there's the people, well, actually this is an official GitHub action that allows me to create a comment. And it uses the, I barely understand like what is going on here, and that's the point. So I can use this step here, and that's what I'm doing. I'm referencing this pre-packaged functionality that someone already used. And basically I'm, I have that here. And so next thing, so these are going to run in order. And so I'm just going to commit this. And I know I'm going through this really fast. I just don't, I know that it's kind of probably too fast to actually understand what is going on, but I just want to pique your interest. And hopefully like give you a flavor of how it works. So this, okay, so I want to, this workflow that I saved is going to be triggered with an issue. So let's open an issue. It doesn't really matter what I say. And let's see if it triggers the action. Probably 50% chance I did something wrong. I don't know. Hopefully it works. So you can click in actions and then it'll go through these steps. So let's see like what it did real fast. So, so see payload. Okay, so you can see this payload. Well, let me zoom in. Oops, going in the wrong direction. But you can see the payload, which is kind of that JSON file that I talked about that has all the metadata of what triggered this event, which is opening an issue. So you can see the action is opened and all this information about the issue. And then you can parse that and kind of go from there. And then you see, this comment event was triggered, which hopefully works. So let's go back to the issue and see if it worked. And yeah, GitHub Actions like did that. So this is very hello world. Again, I just want to pique your interest. So you might be wondering, okay, like whatever, like how's it gonna use this for ML? Okay, so let me show like a quick demo of kind of what it could look like. So let's say you have, okay, so this is a very common problem. Like you open a PR and you make some change to a model. In this case, this is very simplified, like I'm changing the size of an embedding. And just imagine I'm opening a PR. And a lot of times, in code review, you want your colleagues to know whether or not this PR should be merged. Like, what's the impact of these changes to the model? And that's always not clear a lot of times from PRs. So it would be cool if somehow you could automate this. So kind of using the same approach that I talked about before, just like you can make actions respond to comments and issues, you can make actions respond to comments and PRs. So in this case, I've orchestrated something, run full test. This run full test will trigger a GitHub action to run. And what that will do is it'll take the Docker, there's a Docker file in this repo, and I'll take the code in this PR. It will build the Docker container, and it will push it to the registry, which is what's happening here. I sped this up just so that we can see this without getting bored, because it does take some time to push this thing. And I also recorded this because I didn't want to do this live, because every time I do, something goes wrong, internet connection or something else. But what's happening here is pushing the Docker container, and then it's running this machine learning pipeline on the infrastructure of my choice. In this case, I'm using Argo, which is a cloud native workflow system for machine learning. And what's happening here is we're gonna have a pre-processing step and a training step. It's very simple. Again, this is sort of hello world. This is an external system. This is not running in actions. Actions just deferred to this system. What you can see is okay, it's running. And then eventually it's going to complete. So you have pre-processing. Then there's going to be a training step that you might have. Again, there's logs. And this is not unique to CI/CD. I'm just giving you an idea how this works. Notice how all the context for what is happening is dropped into the PR automatically. So all your colleagues can look and see what's happening. So when the model run is complete, what we do is we have a weights and biases action, which is really cool. And what it does is it fetches all the runs for this SHA, and it brings it back into the PR. And it says, okay, these are the metrics that we have, and then along with the run ID, which is really interesting. And so, we can be confident that we tested this for, this test relates to the code that's not stale in this PR for the SHA. And then we also can bring back other runs that we might have in weights and biases for baselines and things like that. This is weights and biases. Sure, a lot of people have seen this on this call, but this, again, you can embed whatever links you want, and you can expect the runs you want. And weights and biases obviously is really cool for showing all the context and all the artifacts that are associated with your model. And so in this case, we have a candidate model here. We have baseline. And so, and we can verify that the SHA there matches the SHA that's in the table. Let me actually fast forward a little bit, kind of go through this a little bit faster. Okay, so let's say you want to deploy the model. So you might say, okay, I'm ready to deploy one of these models, or test the model in another way, or do some kind of canary smoke test. And so in this case, I have another chat command, deploy, and then the name of the run ID here. And then I have this another action goes out and fetches that model artifact from weights and biases, and then pushes it to a model serving, a model serving function. In this case, I'm using Google Cloud Functions, which is like AWS Lambda, but basically, I'm using it to serve an inference, a container that does inference. And then so again, you have, and this just shows the dashboard where Google Cloud Functions is running. So this is really cool. With GitHub Actions, you have in a PR a very transparent display of sort of everything that happens in a machine learning workflow, and it's kind of a way that you can test models. And that's really interesting. I see a lot of people struggling with that. when they open PRs, and then going back to a PR and trying to figure out why was this merged, or where was the problem. And this gives you a way to sort of orchestrate some really interesting things. Okay, so I went really fast. Again, there's no way you can learn everything about GitHub Actions or even necessarily understand how it works in only 20 minutes or so. I don't expect that. I just wanted to give you an idea and pique your interest in some of this. So, okay, let me talk a little bit about, I mentioned that there's a weights and biases action. Like, what does that mean? Like, what does that even, like, how does that look? So, so there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So when I had that comment in the PR that fetched the runs from weights and biases, it went out and it queried weights and biases API, and it got all the relevant runs for that PR, and it dropped it in as a markdown table. So that involves a lot of work. Like, there's a fair amount of code involved with doing that and kind of orchestrating that. And you might not want to rewrite all that stuff, and you don't have to. So the cool thing about Actions is I can create a prepackaged action and then serve it to the community. So that's what we've done, for example, weights and biases. So like, this is how it looks in the workflow. If you remember that YAML file that I quickly went through at the beginning, at blazing fast speed, this is kind of the idea. So, so actually PR comments and issue comments are the same thing, because in GitHub, issues and PRs are the same thing. I know it's confusing, but just trust me. The issue comment will also be triggered from a PR comment. And, you can have a comment like get runs, and then this is the interface of the weights and biases prepackaged action. So these are the inputs. These are some inputs, some of them optional, that you can specify that will help you get runs that you're looking for. And so I won't go into it too much detail, but you kind of get an idea. So like in weights and biases, you have tags. You also have certain metrics that you might want to see. So this helps you specify what information you want to get back. There's obviously a weights and biases API key that you might need. And then this like SHA might help you filter runs that, for particular SHA. So that's just the high level idea. Again, it's not, you can follow these links and sort of dig in more if you're interested. Okay, there's another thing that is enabled by GitHub Actions, is fast pages. So, oops, let me do the present. And that's fast pages. So fast pages is, so if you ever wondered how you could blog with Jupyter notebooks, wouldn't it be nice if you could write a Jupyter notebook and then turn it into a blog post? I've tried to do that, like before fast pages, I tried to do that myself, and it's kind of complicated. Like it was, had some conversion scripts converted to HTML, but then there's a lot of fiddling around with like hiding cells and formatting and all kinds of stuff, getting in the way. And so GitHub Actions was a way that we partnered with Fast AI, and we created fast pages, the way to allow people to quickly and easily write blogs with Jupyter notebooks, but also with Markdown and Word documents if you really want to. So let me kind of demonstrate, just because it's relevant, how that works. So let me go to fast pages. Let's see, here we go. It's my history. So this is how you get started. Let me zoom out so you can see. So this is the fast pages repo. The way you get started is you use a template. So I'm gonna say fast pages demo, and then you create a repository from this template. Okay. And then, okay, so what happens now is GitHub Actions will actually, and you can do this, if you have an open source, like some kind of project, you can kind of emulate what I'm doing here, and I'm gonna show you in a second. So, so what's gonna happen is a PR is gonna be opened on this repo automatically because it detected that I forked it via a template, and we're gonna do like some of the setup. So the idea is like, this is gonna become like a GitHub Pages site, but you have to do a lot of configuration to make it work for me, because the name of the repo changed. Obviously the org changed. It's not FastAI anymore. It's my name, and like it has to like configure it for like everything I need. And so pull request is open automatically, and that was created. This is created with a GitHub action. So you see GitHub Actions like made this PR, changing a whole bunch of things here, getting rid of all kinds of stuff and changing stuff. You see that's changed from FastAI to my name, blah, 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 all this stuff. And changing all kinds of stuff in the repo that, you know, basically it's boilerplate, but you need it to work. And then it walks you through the setup steps, very easy. For demo purposes, I can show that real fast. See if I can work with very small space here. Okay, so I'm not afraid of getting hacked because I'm just gonna delete this after I'm done, so not a big deal. So I'm gonna just follow. So there's some instructions here. I'm gonna follow it real quick just to kind of let you know. So the instructions say I have to call it that and add that as a secret. And then it says, let me go back to the PR. And then it says, I need to add the deploy key here. So that's like the not secret part. So I'm gonna put that here, and then I'm gonna call it fast pages. Doesn't really matter what I call it. Okay, and then it's wanting me to authenticate, that's fine. And then I've done everything that it wants me to in this PR. Again, this is orchestrated with GitHub Actions. I'm gonna go ahead and merge it. And then you should see that, so you see that now my site should be getting built. And so just a little bit about Fast Pages. It's built on this project called NBDev, which for the Jupyter fans out there, it allows you to build entire libraries with Jupyter. You can do all your coding in Jupyter without leaving an IDE. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's kind of cool. Like it's actually, you should try it just to get the experience, just to see like what it's about. If that sounds preposterous. But actually, it actually adds a lot of features to Jupyter, such as allowing you to hide cells and add all kinds of cool metadata and all this stuff. So Fast Pages sort of has all that stuff. And so this, as you can see, this is like building my site. It's almost done. Let me refresh it because I see some screen artifacts happening here. And when it's done, eventually what happens is, you know, it will be available on this page. We can come back to this in a second. I don't want to waste too much time, but that gives you an idea. Let me show you like a working version of Fast Pages. Just kind of cut out the. So this is Fast Pages. This is what it looks like. You know, you have notebook blog posts. Again, you don't have to write any HTML. This just converts your notebooks as they are. I'm not going to go through this. This just shows you all the different features. And you know, you can have like in your blog post, you can have your you know, interactive charts, which is cool. And then all kinds of other stuff like GIFs, like animated GIFs, and you know, whatever, tweet cards and all the other YouTube videos or whatever, all kinds of features. So if I go back here, at some point, it should have worked. Let's see. And yeah, it does. So this is my site. This is the one I just created, Fast Pages demo. You can see now I have a GitHub page that's completely automated. And all you have to do is you save a Jupyter notebook into this notebooks folder, and you can create a new page. Or you can delete ones if you don't like the ones that are the demo pages. Okay, so that was kind of a lightning tour of GitHub Actions. Hope that was interesting. That kind of jog some ideas or maybe something new. You might be wondering like, okay, like what do I do with Actions, or like, can I do anything? So like, I think there's a lot of opportunities for people, for ML people, data science people to like to like have interesting actions for the community that's around data science. So I'll mention a few. One is model serving. I think there's some interesting workflows that you could use maybe to make things that may perhaps serve models via like a GitHub workflow. And then also like you could do some more interesting things with notebooks. So, you know, you could have some things that clean up notebooks, convert them via the NBDev library that I talked about earlier. There's actually this really cool project called Papermill that will run notebooks for you programmatically. There's this other site, I'll just mention it real fast. So this is actually a FastPages site, COVID-19 dashboards. It actually updates all of these dashboards. I call them dashboards, they're really blog posts because that's what FastPages is. It updates it programmatically with Papermill. So that's really interesting. And it does that every 6 hours or so. And it's triggered via a cron. So in addition to any GitHub event, you can trigger GitHub Actions to just run periodically via a cron event. But anyways, also other things are additional CI/CD integration, like the one I showed one flavor of CI/CD in the demo that I showed, the recorded demo. But there's a lot of other sort of ways you can do that, and maybe other tools that you can integrate with that, and other things. So that's the end of my kind of lightning talk about actions and how it might be relevant to ML. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Nice. Thanks, Hamel. Do we have questions? If you have any questions, please either use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, or you can just ask us in the chat.
So there was a question about the first half of the talk. So Jack M wants to know, so when I set up a few actions on one of my repos to check spelling and links, it would be ideal for it to run on pull requests from forked repos. However, when a PR is submitted, GitHub Actions fails to fetch because it's unauthorized because it's forked. Any thoughts on workarounds for this? Only commentary I can find online is that GitHub doesn't want to allow this due to potential malicious use.
Yeah, if you're coming, like, okay, if it's a pull request from a fork, because you can have secrets in your GitHub Actions, and we don't want to leak those to anybody to random people, then we lock it down. And so the way that there are ways that you can get around that. I would have to share my screen and tell you and show you, but we don't have enough time. One way that I go around that is I actually make a comment on the PR, and that way I'm triggering an event that is, and if I'm triggering an event, then I can then run something that has all the permissions. So like, you know, in the FastPages repo, I have a special command called \preview, and that kicks off, like, it builds the website and then drops a link to a preview. I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully that helps.
And then there's another question. Charles, you didn't get the ones in QA, right?
Yeah, so one from Mani. Can we build FastPages and host it via GitHub pages? Is there an end-to-end process, or there is some hand-holding or manual interventions required?
Yeah, that's what FastPages is. You just, as soon as you you do that template that I showed, it publishes the FastPages for you automatically. It's built for FastPages, or it's built for GitHub pages.
Cool. Do people have any other questions? I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. All right. Hamel, thank you so much. That was really, really good. And we'll put this recording, if you missed any of the details, we'll put the recording on YouTube. Also, Hamel is on Twitter. Hamel, what's your Twitter ID? So people can follow you.
Yeah, sorry. My Twitter is my first name, last name, concatenated together. That's my Twitter handle.